God's pull-up.
Hey everybody, it's Mathew Freeman, and if you've been following me for quite some time or watching any of my videos at all, you would know that I'm Christian and I follow Jesus, and that's where I kind of derive all my spiritual pull from. That's where my faith lies, and there are times, obviously, over the past few years that you felt probably a more optimistic, powerful presence, and then a more down presence, and that's definitely life's ups and downs. But I was sitting in church the other day, and I started thinking about the fact that I'm a fitness professional, and many times people are looking to do a pull-up, and they cannot pull up their own body weight. And when they can't pull up their own body weight from the get-go, we provide them assistance. We provide them assistance with a really strong band, to a smaller band, to a smaller band, to a smaller band, to eventually pulling up their own body weight. And while I was thinking about that, I started thinking about God's pull-up and His assistance in our life. And early on as Christians, we dive in and we're going to church every single week, and maybe we join a small group, and maybe we do a whole bunch of things because we're learning, we're trying to grow, and He provides a lot of assistance. So I feel like God's right there. He's providing us with this assistance. He's given us the strongest band to make sure that we're successful, that we get to know Him, that we grow through His Son, Jesus Christ, that we get stronger day by day. And over time, as our strength develops, He might relieve some of that assistance. He might give us a little bit of a smaller band, and then eventually a smaller band, and then eventually a smaller band, to the point where we no longer need necessarily a band because we're strong and we've learned to grow in Him, and we can pull up our own body weight. We can hold our own. We've been equipped with Scripture, with understanding. Our faith is strengthened to the point where we don't necessarily need the physical, visible assistance, but knowing that He is still there. Just because you are pulling up by yourself doesn't mean that His presence is no longer there. It doesn't mean that He's disappeared. It's that He doesn't need to provide you with as much help to lift yourself up. And I was thinking about that, through and through, and it doesn't mean sometimes that, things happen and we get injured and we face a setback, and just because we used to pull ourselves up after injury, we've torn our rotator cuff, doesn't mean that we don't have to go back to needing a solid assistance. The good news is the assistance is there if we need it. We can join another small group, remain active. And I'm not suggesting that once your faith is strong enough that you don't go to church, you don't go to small group, you don't do all these things, stay there. But rather than being helped and taught through this, you become the teacher. But even the best teacher, the best psychologist will need help at some point. And that just because we progress doesn't mean we regress, and regression doesn't mean we've lost sight of everything that we've ever learned or gained. So this life, is kind of a forward, back process. The help, God's support, is always there. Whether or not you can visibly see the band or visibly feel Him or see Him or not, does not mean He's not there. So I just was thinking about God's pull-up and God's assistance in our life, and early in our Christian days where we might need a really thick assistance, and then we might need less assistance, and then over time we might be able to lift up our own weight, we might be able to turn around and assist. And then at times life happens and we fall in a rut and we need to go back to utilizing some assistance. It's a constant ebb and flow, a constant learning process. So I just encourage each and every one of you, as I reflect in this time, as I realize that I'm at a point where I need some assistance. You know, I'm maybe black band or maybe blue band when it comes to my faith. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to utilize the assistance. Oftentimes, people come into my gym and they hop up on this box and say, no way, I cannot do a pull-up. And they say, we're going to use this band. Well, then I'm weak. I'm weak. If I can't do it on my own and I need that, then I'm weak. No, that is not true. You're asking for help, swallowing our pride. We are actually utilizing this to progress you in a safe manner, to gain real good understanding, to gain muscle memory, so that when we provide less assistance, your muscles have developed and you can stand firm. And that's the same as our faith. We develop you in our faith, or He develops you in strength and faith and trust in Him, so that you can stand on your own. But that doesn't mean that He's not there. And I'm just kind of talking out loud, reminding myself of this, but as I sat in church, I couldn't help but think of the pull-up and God's assistance in my life. So just rest assured you're not alone, and just know that just because you've passed a level of assistance doesn't mean that you might not need it again. As always, we love talking to you. It's Mathew Freeman with Mathew Freeman Fitness, and just ever trying to learn and grow. So if you could help me out, I'd enjoy it. If I can help you out in any way, please let me know. Thank you. Be sure to like Mathew Freeman Fitness on Facebook.com.